The filter function acts like a bouncer in a club. So it will look at each individual element in an array, see if it fulfills the criteria that you define, and if it does, that element will be copied over to a new array. But if it doesn't, it will be rejected. So just like in a club, like let's say you cannot go in sports shoes. So that would be the criteria. No sports shoes. If you're wearing them, you're not allowed. If you're not wearing them, you're welcome to come in and spend your money on drinks and girls who will not talk to you afterwards. You are probably not subscribed. And I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so I would really, really appreciate your support. Thank you. Here I have a list of cars, and let's say I want only Toyotas. Here's how I would do it with the filter method. I would define a function that checks if car.make is equal to Toyota. Now, how it works is that each element here will be passed inside, and each element will be known as car inside of this method. And all I have to do is to check if car.make is equal to Toyota. So first element is Honda, that's not Toyota. Second element is Toyota. Great. The third element is Ford, that's not Toyota. And the fourth element is Toyota, which is Toyota. So now let's see what's the result. As you can see here on my screen, I have my results that I wanted. I have 2 Toyotas, so this is exactly what I wanted. And that's pretty much the filter method. That's just how it works. Additionally, one cool thing that you should remember is that we can also get the index of the element that's currently being considered, whether it's valid or not. So here you can see that I passed in some console logs. I passed in an index that I took from the second argument and the car that I'm currently considering. And here in my output, you can see index 0 and then the element, the first element in my array. And this is especially helpful if you need to do something with that index. If you need to know which particular index of an element is being considered. And you can use it, for example, like this. So now my filter says I want Toyotas or the first element from my array. So I'm gonna save, refresh. As you can see here, I have my Honda inside of my Toyotas list because I passed in additional condition that I also want the element with index equal to 0. So now let's get to the implementation. I very creatively named my function myFilter. And as the first argument, it has an array that I'm going to consider. And as a second, the criteria function. So first I define an array that will hold all elements from the original array that fulfill the criteria. And then using the good old for loop, I iterate over every single element of that original array. And then I apply it inside of my criteria function along with the index. And if that function returns true, I push that element into my new array. And then I just return it. So here's how I use it. I pass in the same function that I passed into the native filter, right? So I want all Toyotas or the first element from the array. So now let's see the result. So here you can see that's the result of the original or the native filter method, and that's the result of my own filter method. And that's the filter method. Somebody tell me how many times I said filter in this video.